I recently did a video where I was reacting to headlines that are happening in real time about the NAR settlement. So as we know, NAR has proposed a settlement for $418 million for the whole commission lawsuits that have happened pretty much every single week since the Cesar Burnett verdict was rendered in 2023. So NAR has proposed a settlement of $418 million to squash that beef and the other copycat lawsuits along the way. So I was going through the headlines of all the major publications that were out there. So CNN, Fox News, Washington Post, New York Post, Wall Street, all of these different headlines. And one stood out in particular. So I didn't have time to actually specifically single that one out and see what it actually presented, what were the talking points that they were sharing. So we let that video go to publish, and I went back just out of curiosity to see what was actually being shared in that particular article. And I think it's a really good teaching opportunity for us real estate agents to really address the one thing that we need to be doing right now more than ever, and that's communicating with our clients what this actually means and what this doesn't mean. Because if you're not the one that is educating your clients, then it's going to be these publications, these news organizations that don't necessarily have your best interest in mind that are sharing and really creating the narrative, right? So that's what we're going to react to right now. This video is a really good video because it's short. It's a very short video, but it really brings out the talking points that are being shared in unison. So it just seems like everybody kind of wrote down the same talking points and they emailed it to each other and said, hey, share this on your next news hit, share this on your next publication, which completely goes against what's actually the truth, what's actually happening. So again, just want to make sure that you're aware as a real estate agent what is being shared with your clients, so you have the actual truth behind the objections behind what they're actually sharing and what they're sharing with your particular client. So we're going to go through and we're going to react through it right now. So this is out of this particular news hit is courtesy of NBC News. And it's a very short video, so we're going to get through it. There's 2-3 times where we're going to pause and address the points that are being brought up, because again, we need to understand what's being shared in order for us to better educate who we're working with.
A new settlement could dramatically change the way you buy a home. The National Association of Realtors has agreed to settle a series of lawsuits over commissions. Those are payments that agents get from a sale. As part of the settlement, standards commissions could be slashed. Full disclosure.
Standard commissions, that is not a thing. So a standard commission, there was no set in stone fee that needed to be charged. That's why you have the Redfins of the world. They were charging something that was way different than 6%. You have flat fee brokerages that were charging a certain amount. You have agents individually negotiating different transactions, especially as you get in different fees, especially as you get into the luxury space. In the luxury space, you're not seeing 6%, 7%, 8%. You're not seeing this standard, for sure, the standard commission. So again, this whole standard commission notion, I know that it was litigated and it was brought up over and over and over again in the actual litigation in the Cesar Burnett lawsuit, which ultimately was lost by the defendants, in this case NAR, among the other brokerages that were named at that time that were still in the lawsuit: Keller Williams, Home Services. Home Services is the only one that's still left in the lawsuit, by the way. So I've covered the lawsuit very much in detail in other videos. So we're going to just continue to just look at the facts here. So there was no standards commissions that were set. That is not a thing. And could we have done a better job in representing that in the lawsuit? For sure. So let's keep going.
My brother-in-law is the vice president for political advocacy for the National Association of Realtors. So NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung is going to take all of this for us. Brian, you have been covering this story.
One quick note. So this individual, Brian Chung, is not her brother-in-law. So the way that she read it, just going to save you some time. The way that she read it, it took me about 5 minutes to figure out what the heck. Like, I kept Googling him and I only saw like a Twitter profile. I saw an Instagram profile and a LinkedIn profile. I didn't see the correlation between this political advocacy, the VP of being the political advocacy. So what she's saying is she has, I guess, closer ties to this NAR settlement through her brother-in-law. Her brother-in-law is not this individual, as what I believe, that's how I interpreted. So just having you 5 to 10 minutes of that research. This is an individual contributor that does come on and do this type of information with them. So again, no correlation. She's just disclosing her perceived bias or connection to the case.
Explain to us what is going on here.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a big deal for both home buyers and home sellers. But long story short, we are still trying to figure exactly how this will change the home buying process. So commissions alone can add thousands of dollars to the price of a home. The National Association.
Commissions alone could add thousands of dollars to the price of the home. So that's a big hill that they are dying on. That's a big hill that was presented. That's the point that was being presented in the Sitzer Burnett lawsuit and all the other lawsuits. They're basically copy and paste lawsuits. That's why they are copycat lawsuits. And that's why NAR is, at the end of the day, in the best interest of everybody, or perceived best interest of everybody, was sought out to settle, as opposed to go through the going through the continual lawsuit, or the going through the continual legal processes and continue to get sued every other week, right? So NAR has been implicated or has been named in over 20 lawsuits at this point, along with other MLSs, along with other brokerages, along with other associations, along with all this other stuff. So at this point, this is hopefully squashing that from the seller commission standpoint, or the whole commission issue that it keeps being brought up. But anyway, when it comes to the whole our commissions adding thousands of dollars to the sale of a home, here's where we have to be kind of balanced. Not kind of, like, we have to be balanced here. And this is something that you, as a real estate agent, this is probably something that you've been saying all along. Not that your commissions are inflating the price of real estate, because that's not true. Or at least that's not in my opinion. That's not something that's happening. But when you work with the real estate professional, statistically, homes are going to be sold for higher. It's not because of your real estate commissions. It's because more of your skill set, more of your skills that you bring to the table, because you bring better marketing, you bring more exposure, you bring value to the transaction. So again, trying to be fair, trying to be balanced here. This is a talking point that many of you that are cold callers, as an example, of FSBOs, of expireds, of whatever, you are representing that in most cases in your scripts, that by working with a real estate professional, your home will sell more. So we can't backtrack in what has been shared and statistically been proven to be the case, but simply because the prices go up does not necessarily mean it's because the real estate commissions are the ones that drove that up. That's not the thing. It's, you could charge less, if you will. You could charge nothing and the prices would still go up because of your better marketing, your better negotiation skills, your everything else that goes into being a real estate professional that helps home sellers achieve more for that home sale. So again, just want to be very clear on that. Want to be balanced, if you will, or to the best of my ability. I am a real estate agent after all, so I do have skin in the game here. But also, we need to call a spade, because yes, when somebody is selling with an agent, we've been saying for years that when you work with a real estate professional, you actually sell for more. That's something that NAR has published. That's something that you have said, most likely, because it's been statistically proven that that's the case. But it's not because of your real estate commission. That's not the thing. It's because of your skill set that homes have sold for more. Because you could easily take out the real estate commissions altogether and do it pro bono, sell it for free, and not charge a penny, and the price would still be at that. So this is going to be very important in the next point that we cover.
Association of Realtors, also known as NAR, represents 1.5 million agents nationwide. It faces a series of lawsuits from home sellers who claim the group's rules forced them to pay excessive fees. So here are some of them.
So have forced them to pay excessive fees. So nobody has been forced to sign on the dotted line anywhere and always, right? So everyone has had free will. Everyone has had the opportunity to negotiate. Everyone has had the ability. Hey, you're saying that you can sell my house for 7%, or you're saying that you can sell my house and you're going to charge me 6%. How about you do it for 4%? And the agent could obviously say no. The agent could also say, well, you know what, let's meet in the middle. Or the agent could also say, yeah, you know what, I'll do it for 4%. Right? So that competition has existed forever and for always. So for the whole notion of It's been fixed at 6%. The moment that an agent comes through the door, I have to give them 6%. That is not something that has happened. As far as been forced to sell for excessive fees, whatever excessive means to the individual, anything beyond $1 is going to be deemed excessive from somebody that is selling a home, because ideally everyone looks for their own interests, obviously. So the more that they can keep, the better, right? So anyway, let's continue.
Main points of the settlement: the NAR would pay $418 million in damages to those home sellers over about 4 years, and it would allow buyers and sellers.
By the way, $418 million. Remember, the plaintiffs are going to take roughly, if the previous settlements settlements are any indication of what's going to happen here, the plaintiffs' attorneys are going to collect first, and they're going to collect to the tune of 40% or so of this amount. So let's just be clear, this $418 million, if it goes through this proposed settlement, does not go to the 500,000 home sellers that were potentially affected. So let's just make sure that that's out there, right? So I understand this is a news hit. I understand this is something that is very, very snappy, very, very quick. We can't provide nuance here, but that's why you're watching videos like this, so as to provide the nuance, right?
Sellers to negotiate fees and compensation with agents up front, which would...
Where he talked about eliminating standard 6% commissions. Standard 6% commission was not a thing. Listings will no longer include upfront offers to buyers agents. That is also not the case in this regard. So the thing that actually did happen was the percentage that was being offered to any buyer's agent that was bringing on a buyer, that field that was on the MLS. So whenever you input a listing, so you as a listing agent that put a home on the market on the MLS, you were required to put something. You weren't told what, but you were required to put something in the buyer's agency commission. So the buyer agent commission. So anything that was beyond zero, you could put $1, but you did not have to put something there. Now that entire field altogether, that's going away. So that is something that is happening. So while you can, so the whole listings will no longer include upfront offers to buyers agents. This is something that can and will continue to happen, but it's not going to be on the MLS in and of itself, right? So when agents are taking listings, they're still going to present the option, as has been in the past, they're still going to present the option of the commission. There's going to be that negotiation of the commission up front with the home seller, and then you're going to see what percentage the listing agent is going to allocate for a buyer's agent that brings a transaction. So it could very much still be a 5% entire listing, and then that gets divvied up between buyer and seller agent. It could still be a 6%, it could still be a 7%, it could still be whatever percentage it happens to be. And there's the what's going to end up going for the buyer's agent and what's going to be kept for the listing agent. So that's not going to change, but this is necessarily alluding to the MLS component. So they're conflating the two, or not even conflating the two. They're saying that it's not going to be a thing, which in reality it will be.
Essentially eliminate the standard 6% sales commission common in many home sales. Now, the NAR continues to deny any wrongdoing. The interim CEO released a statement saying in part, quote, "The NAR has worked hard for years to resolve this litigation in a manner that benefits our members and American consumers. It has always been our goal to preserve consumer choice and protect our members to the greatest extent possible. This settlement achieves both of those goals. A federal court still needs to approve the settlement. If it does..."
That is true.
Does get approved, though, the changes will go into effect sometime in July. We may not know specific details.
It could go in July, but it could also be sooner. It could also be later. A lot of this, even if it doesn't get approved, I do suspect things are going to be changed. Again, this is all proposed, right? So the $418 million, that's a proposed settlement. And the rules of engagement at this point, those have been proposed. And that's something that NAR is going to continue to push forward and roll out so as to get all the members, up to speed on what's going on. And if what's happening on real estate agent groups right now is any indication of the battle that we're against, just speaking to my peers, it's gonna be challenging. So speaking to us agents, we're gonna If it took us a long time to get adopted to DocuSign, just imagine how long it's going to take us to really adjust to this new norm. So we really need to get, really a good grasp of what's actually changing, what's not changing, and really start working on the roadmap ahead for our business. So I did make a video earlier today on how you can actually get ahead of this thing to the best of your ability and actually start thriving. So make sure you check out that video.
Details until then, but the potential impacts on the real estate industry would be huge. Home prices could drop.
They're not. They're just not. They're not going to drop. Now, we talked about this in my previous video, but if we did this thought experiment and actually had a way to actually deploy it, if real estate agents did not exist from now and you checked it in a year, and you checked it in 3 years, and you checked it in 5 years, you would not see a difference in terms of, hey, there's this wild drop ever since real estate agents did not exist on the face of this planet. And it's to the tune of 4, 5, 6, 7%, however much they think the standard commissions are. There's this wild gap, right? So thank goodness that's not going to be a thing. Home prices are not going to necessarily drop because of the real estate commissions.
If home sellers pass along the savings from any lower commissions, those could amount to thousands of dollars. But it could also add a step for those first-time sellers that are opting to negotiate the fee.
Sellers have always been able to negotiate the fee.
Either way, buyers and sellers would have more negotiating power.
So they mentioned other points here of agents could leave the industry. So looking at the points that they were making, yes, agents will leave the industry. Now, the agents that are going to be mostly implicated here are the ones that do 1 to 2 transactions. So quick little side note. In 2023, half of real estate agents did 1 transaction or 0. Technically, it was 49% of agents did 1 transaction or 0. So let that sink in. The individuals that are doing, the agents are doing 0, 1, 2, 3 transactions a year, they are going to leave the industry. That's something that is going to happen. Now, why is that the case? Well, the standard, the level of communication, the hurdle, if you will, to stay in actually make an income, like in that case, it would be a side income. That's not a full-time income if you're doing 1 to 2, 3 transactions a year. That has been raised. So for an individual, an agent that is keeping their real estate license, hoping to work with their cousin every once in a while or a friend every once in a while and help them purchase a transaction, well, if they're not able to really state their value proposition up front, it's going to be more challenging for them to keep their real estate license, keep their fees going, keep their lockbox fee up, keep their MLS fee up, keep their broker fees up. So yeah, those agents are going to ultimately leave the industry. There's no question about that. Now, as far as home prices coming down, we already talked about that. That's not going to necessarily be the thing. Now, buyers at the end of the day are going to end up paying more. Buyers that were just on that threshold of purchasing a home, that needed every single penny, every single dime to get to that down payment in order to qualify for a loan, those are going to be priced out, unfortunately, in many homes. Now, not for everything, but keep in mind, every single home at this point is treated a little bit different now. So there's going to be homes that offer a certain percentage. There's going to be homes that you're going to the buyer's going to absolutely love, and you're going to try to present your offer along with your commission compensation. But unfortunately, the home seller is asking the buyer or pushing back on that, and maybe a home buyer can't necessarily afford that particular case. So there's going to be some additional sticky negotiation points. There's going to be some additional hurdles for home buyers that ultimately are going to have to go at it alone because they cannot afford representation. So we're essentially stepping back into the 1990s when buyers weren't being looked out for, didn't have buyer agency, didn't have a buyer agent that could support them. They were left to their own devices, working against the listing agent and the home seller by themselves. So they were having to navigate this all together. So that's one thing that is going to happen. Buyers are going to be priced out. Buyers are going to end up paying more upfront in order to purchase a home. So that's going to happen. That's the reality of the situation. And that's something that was, we'll leave that point aside. So something else that's going to happen here is looking at the potential impact of the settlement is what we're looking at here. Something else that is not being brought up is there's going to be a lot more litigation moving forward. So as real estate professionals, we do have training of getting into the industry. We do have certain training and also standards that we have to meet to be part of NAR. So we have some understanding, right? So with buyers now, they are in a way becoming their own agent, and you're going to have a lot more complications at this point. So you're going to have more listing agents getting sued. You're going to have more home sellers getting sued. There's going to be a lot more litigation and a lot more money for the attorney associations. So if this 40% that they're getting on this commission lawsuit wasn't enough of all the hundreds of millions of dollars that they're standing to gain, well, they're going to also receive a windfall of litigation claims because things weren't disclosed, because somebody feels cheated, because somebody was rightfully or wrongfully discriminated against. There's never a right way to get discriminated, but at least there's the perceivedness of being discriminated against. There's going to be a lot more litigation that ends up happening as a result of this particular case. So that is something that is absolutely going to happen. So I want to make sure that that was covered.
Either way, buyers and sellers would have more negotiating power. And Ellison, the bottom line is
they've had this negotiating power.
Still a lot to be figured out here, but this could really dramatically change the way that the home selling, home buying process is done nationwide.
That last statement was the most accurate statement that he has made. Anyway, I thought this was interesting. There's some points here. These are the talking points that are being shared. This is the whole standard commission. That is not a thing. All the things that were being brought up, I'll link this particular video down below, because again, this is what's being shared with you on all the media right now, and your clients, your past people that you've helped buy and sell, your future clients, they are aware of this at this point. This has gone beyond the real estate profession, right? So this is something that you need to be aware of, that's being communicated, and you also need to understand the talking points or the objections to what's being shared, because it's factually not true. All right, well, I'll see you on the next one. Let me know what you think down in the comment section.